We go. There we go. Okay, so here we are for another virtual mentorship session this Tuesday. Welcome everybody to today's fourth Tuesday of the month. This is one of my favorite sessions of the virtual mentorship sessions because we have to talk about team building, management, being a good leader, building a team. What does it mean to get to phase two? Both practice owners, managers, production managers, office managers from all around the country. Hey, Jennifer, good to see you. Awesome. Cool. We got Mallory, Chelsea, Dr. T, High Desert in the house. All right. ETHC is here, but no computer. We're open for day one. Got it. Okay, good. Well, keep yourself in the loop in the chat box for us. And Coastal Integrative is here as well as we get started today. So Coastal Integrative, Florida here. What's up, guys? Hey, and if you guys turn your webcam on so we can see you, that'd be great. Love to see you guys. I'm sure we have a lot more people going to be popping in here in the first few minutes. So as we get started for today's session, we're going to be focusing really around what does it take to build a team, to drive a team towards performance and production. And honestly, what does it mean to think like an executive, but also to be an effective executive so you can open up multiple locations, multiple practices, multiple businesses. Your staff can move up in your company to take on bigger roles. And then you as a practice owner can expand your footprint into more areas of your community. So definitely very excited to jump into today's session. I have another guest speaker for you guys, 7th Division member. One of my good friends, Dr. Brandy Chapman, is joining us today. And many of you guys have either met her at our workshops or networked with her at our different events. I'm super pumped for her to take a few minutes or an hour out of her day to share her best practices, not just with building a good team, how to mentor staff, how to make it through the storms of growth and the growing pains of growth, but also, how do you expand to multiple locations without spreading yourself too thin? Then how do you put something in place that you can do so by having the opportunity to open up more? The previous guests I've had on have mostly been revolved around individuals that have, from a managerial standpoint, have grown their practice to multiple locations, and that means a lot of opportunity for those that are part of the business as well, that are employees in the company, to move up in the practice and to do bigger and better things. So definitely super excited to have Dr. Brandy Chapman on today. Dr. Brandy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Ethan, and hi, everyone. So Dr. Brandy Chapman, I own Carolina Spine and Health in Greenville and Spartanburg, South Carolina. So you want me to go into a little bit of...
Yeah, we usually have about another bunch of offices that usually pop in the first 5 minutes. So they'll probably be jumping in here as you start kind of your origin story. So my question is, did you start off out of the womb with 2 practices, killing it?
No.
No.
I started off as an associate, making $36,000 a year. So I went to work. I was going to go to Charlotte, and I went and just kind of found this doctor that had a double truck yellow page ad back when that meant something, and send my resume. And then I went to interview with him, and part of the interview, he was like, well, 70% of my patients are Hispanic, so if you don't speak Spanish, you can't work for me. And I was like, well, I'm minored in Spanish at Carolina. Does that count? So he's like, hired. But he asked me to instead go and open a 3rd location for him in Greenville, South Carolina. So that's how I got to be in Greenville. So we started, and I was the doctor here. I went and trained in Charlotte for 2 months, and then I came to Greenville, and I was full-time Greenville and built this practice from the ground up. I started with 1 employee. So I did have 1 front desk person that was trained in explaining financials. So we never combined that. I, as a doctor, never also explained the financials, which I like. But that was our foundation. So me and 1 other person, and she trained for 3 months and then put her 2-week notice in 2 weeks after we opened Greenville. So that was awesome. So we had to hire someone else really quickly and get her trained up. She was with me for 5 years, and we built Greenville. So we went, also, we opened in August of 2008. And then if you guys remember, the market crashed in October. Yeah, so it was good times, but we still were able to turn a profit in 9 months. But, back then I was definitely putting in 50, 60 hours a week, I would say, to build this ship. And then in 2013, I bought the practice. So I bought it out And in 2017, I decided to open a second location in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And actually, we are planning to open our third location in Simpsonville within the next year.
So to do that, you're not treating in 3 offices. You're not running all of the operations in 3 offices. You have a team that you've built up, and you have CAs, you have managers, you have doctors, you have a lot of really great team members aboard, and you even have, and you've gone through, I think you've gone through the ups and downs, and are still going through it when it comes to retaining good staff, having staff burn the practice, literally practically burn the office down, or burn the practice, burn you. But you've always had a core group of a handful of people that have been a big part of this of this mission you're on right now. So can you talk to the employees that are watching right now, the office managers, the aspiring leaders? What does it take to really help a practice facilitate growing to multiple locations? What are you looking for, like with Dahlia or Dr. Mike or others in your practice? What are you looking for in good, loyal leaders? And then how do you kind of reward them in their employment over time?
Well, number one, I like to give smart people an opportunity. So, we have you'll have people come to you that have a degree or they've done this and they have all these lofty ideals of what they want to do. And then I have other people come who are hungry, and I was that way. I recognize that in other people, and I prefer to hire maybe someone that doesn't have experience in this angle, but shows me that they want the opportunity and is willing to hustle, because here we hustle. So all of my key leaders are actually people that just needed an opportunity. And so, like, for instance, Dahlia, that's now my clinic director over both clinics. She came to this country from El Salvador, and when I hired her, she did not speak English. Now, I hired her for to help me, because we do a lot of events at Christmas and a lot of marketing with attorneys. And then we were sending out Christmas cards, and I do a lot at Christmas. So I just needed some extra hands. And one of my girls, knew Dahlia and recommended her. So she came in, and I had her literally just sending out our Christmas cards, because there were like 400 or 500 of them. But she got through that, and she asked for more, and she was very good, and she was eager, and she started at like $8 an hour back then in 2010, I think. And she was taking English classes. She had a degree in interior design in her country, but that's not recognized here in the States. So, she was hungry for a chance. And so I told her, you've got to speak English to be able to work here. She took English classes. So we ended up putting her kind of in a back CA position, just kind of helping with putting people on and off therapy, with cleaning, with clerical things that she could do. And then she became a front desk one, where she did check in, check out, scheduling, et cetera. And then she just excelled at that. And then 2 years later, when my office manager at that time left, Dahlia was ready to move right into that position. And she's been with me now. This will be her 12th year. So she's been in the trenches with me. That's one of them. My other employee that's running my Spartanburg clinic right now, I hired her when she was 23 years old. I think I met her at 19. She used to do some marketing events for me, etc. High school education. She came in at 23. I actually ended up having to fire her because she was lazy, if you will, or out too much, just wasn't looking for, she just didn't have the hustle that I needed her to have. She had it in her. She just didn't have the right attitude at that time. So I fired her and sent her out in the world. And then 4 years later, she came back and asked, she'd been beat up a little bit by working other places and didn't realize what she had here when she was here. So she came back, begged for an opportunity. I hired her back just to do marketing. And then I had an opportunity come up for my Spartanburg clinic, and she had worked all of the other positions in her time that was with me. And it just seemed like a no-brainer, and she's killing it. So.
That's awesome. I love that. So a couple of qualities here, and I'm going to get to some questions from the audience here in a minute. Hey, Maria. Hey, Dr. Arthur. Good to see you guys. Laguna Beach in the house. Awesome. A couple of things there. So for the aspiring leaders or the current office managers, things that have really stood out to you that you've rewarded, that have helped everything grow exponentially with your practice. got to be hungry, and you got to hustle in your practice. And that is just a quality that has to exist within them. Cross-trained. Dahlia knows how to do pretty much everything in the office at this point. She can market, she can do front, she can look at accounts, patient accounts. She can dive into any part of the clinic, and she knows how to run with that, and also productive. I mean, at the end of the day, they have to be able to get results. The numbers have to move in the right direction if this is the right person. So she's definitely all of that. Let me go to I'm actually gonna just do some quick introductions here also. Chelsea, do you mind popping off the microphone there and just doing some quick intros there for your guys' position in the office so our speaker knows who you are?
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been with Dr. Scott Taylor's office for about 4 years now. I was one that started at the bottom, and now I'm office manager. And then we have Mallory next to me. We're starting her in my project management courses and getting her my right hand, so Dr. Taylor's left hand, and yeah, that's us.
Awesome, beautiful. We all know Dr. Scott Taylor, of course. He loves the limelight. He's that's his front of the stage. That's his spot. Dr. T, he's been a TBA member for a number of years. Dr. Scott, do you want to share a little bit about your practice?
Sure. We have an integrated practice with chiropractic, physical therapy, medical. We have an urgent care next door as well. And we're doing the integrated model. We've expanded more recently. We're doing a lot of medical weight loss and hormone replacement therapy. Seen some great successes with that. It's just an add-on service, another revenue center, which is very, very low overhead. So we're excited about that and just looking to grow and to keep things going.
Awesome. Beautiful. Excellent. So I want you guys to do is I want you guys, as we continue, we have a number of different topics we're going to hit on today. But I want you guys to share, again, just what are your, in management and team building and personnel, what has been, the obstacle you've been struggling to overcome, whether it's investing in staff, turnover, productive staff, getting them to wear their hats fully, whatever you're struggling with. I want you guys to get and surmise your one question you have for Dr. Brandy today. So the three of you can huddle up and get that question ready. I'll take questions here in a little bit. Jennifer, I want you to do a quick introduction for yourself. And I think I saw Doc there for just a minute. We got to.
He's like an elusive shadow.
Got it.
He's in and out. So I'm with the Fix Medical. We are down here in Tucson, Arizona, an integrated practice as well. We do the chiro, the rehab, the regenerative medicine, and then we are working on just bringing on a hormone replacement therapy and possibly adding weight loss to that. So that's something they're working on.
Perfect. And same thing I challenged Southwest Medical with, one of the struggles you're having, finding good people, building a team, some of the hurdles you've been running into. I think I'm familiar with some of the questions you might bring up, but if you want to prepare your feedback and interaction for today's session, that'd be awesome. Now I'll call you on a little bit later to bring that in. Dr. Gary Arthur's in the house. Dr. Gary, you want to go ahead and just do a real quick introduction? We got to unmute yourself though first. You got to find the mute button there.
There it is. Thank you.
There it is.
We have a family practice. We started in 1987. We're a half a block from the beach. So it's a wonderful environment. And we've been with TBA now, it looks like 5 years. My daughter is our clinic director. We have my wife, another doctor, and we're just getting ready to hire another doctor. It's amazing what doctors think they should be making coming right out of school. I think that's partly because of 100% chiropractic. It's like, so I'm trying to put together a base and then production bonuses based on every treatment and exam and everything that they do. So I'm putting together an offer letter for one. I need to find a good front desk gal. And it seems like with the cost of living increases that have been, going, I know Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is talking about what I think food costs have gone up 76% in the last 2.5 years. So my staff is still continuing to want to make more and more and more because of the cost of living. So I'm working to try to make it so we don't we already have such a high overhead of employee costs that I'm trying to take care of keeping good people, getting good people to come on, but also making the business profitable. So yeah, we're right in the process of that, and we just did a big survey. We're rebranding and finding our key differentiators about our company.
Awesome.
And doing a new website and getting ready to do more marketing.
Beautiful, Dr. Gary. If you have a shot of the ocean there from your window, feel free to.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, awesome, beautiful. We also have UNOSO. We got a silhouette view there. UNOSO, who's there? Hey guys, why don't you unmute yourself there? Introduce yourself.
Hi. We're at Unison Chiropractic in Washington's Seattle area.
Excellent. I can't see who it is. You guys are all kind of in a silhouette.
Because the camera is facing the window. You can see
Yeah.
it's the camera facing the window. Yeah, it's a little bright in our office.
That's okay. Just introduce your names, I suppose, and your roles in the office.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm the CA.
I'm Olivia. I do rehab here.
Cool. Yeah, rehab, CA, and is that who is? I can't
And I
quite
have the
tell.
doctor here.
Is that Dr. On?
Here. Yes, Dr. On.
Okay, I can't.
You
You're just a
can't see
big
me
black
because of-
shadow, so I can't see you. So you got to.
I know.
Yeah. Good.
You
Okay,
can
now I
turn the
know.
light on, Michelle.
Is that better?
Ah, much better. There we go. We can see you.
You
Beautiful.
can light
Okay.
on.
Excellent. I'll let you guys go ahead and mute yourself again there, and we'll dive. I want you guys to get your questions ready. This is again leadership. There we go. Yep. Good to get your leadership questions ready, ladies. Right. So Olivia, Michelle, right? We're talking to one badass, bomb-ass chick here, right? Rockstar leader. So what leadership questions do you have for Dr. Brandy today? I want you to get those questions ready. I'm going to come back to you guys here probably in about 10 minutes. Awesome. Beautiful. And everybody else, we have office manager from Healing Frontiers here as well, and we have deep case manager and CA for Coastal Integrative. Good to have you here as well. And last but not least, Dr. Huffer, real quick, A to B. Why don't you pop your webcam on, Dr. Huffer? Good to see you, my man. Dylan Huffer in the house. You should do a quick introduction for yourself, and then where you practice.
Hi, I'm doing well, and I'm practicing in Columbus, Ohio. So
Excellent. Good. So for yourself too, this is going to be a great opportunity to pick Dr. Brandy's brain. So let's get your leadership and personnel team building questions ready, and we'll dive into our next topic here. Thanks, guys, for the introductions. You got it. We'll jump into it. So here's a question I have, Dr. Brandy. The next one I have is, how do you develop key leaders? I think a lot of doctors sometimes they'll go to a TBA conference and they'll meet an office manager who is just like kicking butt and running a big practice. And they go, oh, I need to find someone like you. And they assume they're going to find someone like Dahlia, right? And to your point, Dahlia was not who she is when you hired her. You developed her over a long course of time, right? Through a lot of investment. And she was obviously the right person for your practice to be invested into. And Dr. Mike and other team members as well. How do you develop the right person? What steps go along into that if you had to look at, like, hindsight's 2020 and experience is the best teacher here?
I think first of all, training people in your vision so that they really understand chiropractic and what it is that you do. Because once they understand that, they're going to be a lot more willing to want to learn new things and to go above and beyond. So I literally would take my new employees into report of findings with me for the first couple weeks, at least, so they could kind of hear my explanation of what is chiropractic, what we do, go over the x-rays so they could see, again, what it is that we do and what kind of things that we treat, and how I explain what we're going to do to the patients. And I think that made them all really excited. And then of course they wanted to get their x-rays done and have their report of findings. And so that's the first step to do with a new employee, I think, is to really make sure they understand what you do and why you're doing it. After that, what I found was organization. So, one of my executive courses that I took was the basics of organization. And I thought that I was very organized, but what I realized is I had a lot of stuff in my head, and I'm good at doing it because I've done it 1,000 times, but when you're trying to bring someone in that's brand new and onboarding, you need to have great manuals. So we made it important to write up job descriptions for each position. And then I actually last year, in a time that we were a little bit slower, this was our main goal for both clinics, was that each position had a manual that had detailed SOPs for every single procedure that we do in the office. With the leadership with bringing on associate doctors, same thing. We have almost 100% close rate, like 95% plus. So, to get somebody else to do that, I wrote scripts. So I just sat down and wrote exactly what I say. And I did it in English and Spanish so that they can do either one. And we did that for each position. So with our case managers, they have the TBA skills for the report of findings course, and then some tweaks that we put on things. Also for the front desk, scripts for everything and drilling until they get very comfortable with it. Now, I don't take away creativity from my staff. They still have, freedom to be themselves, but the scripts are to make sure that they are covering the basics so that I can ensure that we're keeping the same standard of care and quality of service. So I think, getting organized, again, teaching them what we do, why we do it, getting them energized, teaching them how to do their job so that then they actually feel confident in their position and have control over their position. And that just leads for a happier staff, for all the way around, because for that person, they want to feel, like they know what they're doing and be comfortable and confident. But also your other staff, if they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what their responsibilities are and they're messing things up for everybody else or, causing problems for everyone, then you're going to end up in a pickle there as well.
That's a good point. That's great. I'm taking notes myself here. Train them in your vision of what you do. Sitting them in on day ones and day twos for the first couple of weeks is huge. Why you do it, make them become patients, and then just getting super organized. Job descriptions, scripting, manuals, get it out of your head, document it, and have that available for them. That's awesome. Question from Southwest Family Medical. They gotta run here in just a second. So wanted to squeeze their question in here. How do you foster in your practices? How do you foster the drive and hustle in employees, like you're talking about? And is there a way, or how do you recognize that in the interview process?
Wait, are we asking about how we?
Yeah, two questions. How do you foster the drive and hustle in employees? How do you foster that drive? The second question is, how do you recognize it in the interview process?
Okay, so 2 parts to how to foster the drive. Number one, I think you have to lead by example. Like even as an executive, I think that you need to show that my staff that's been with me for years, they know that no one worked harder than me, right? So I'm not asking them to do anything that I wouldn't do or that I haven't done. And so here it's an expectation, that we go above and beyond. And I always talk to my staff about your input or inflow equals your outflow, right? So what you're giving to the world is what you're going to get back and receive. And we're very big on that. Also, I fought it for years because my practice, some of my Greenville practice especially, is very heavily personal injury. And so TBA has a bonus structure, that's a recommended base pay plus bonuses for front desk, case managers, marketing, all of that. And I fought adopting that for years, but finally I was like, you know what, let's try it. If it doesn't work, then I'll do something different. But I instituted that at the, time when we were a little bit stagnant and growth went through the roof. And the staff are now excited to see, 60, 70 patients a day instead of dreading it because they're making money. And I believe in trickle down economics. So if we're making money, they're making money. So that's weekly. So they get those weekly bonuses. And there are some stipulations that come along with that. Like if you call out sick or you leave early, if you are late, more than once that week, then you're disqualified from your weekly bonus, which also keeps people, accountable to the team. We do quarterly goal setting and competitions. And so, for instance, when they meet their first quarter goals, we always try to get an extra day off around the 4th of July. That would be an extra paid vacation day. Second quarter, they get to choose an activity. So one of my clinics made that one. One of my clinics did not make it this time. So we are going to do a spa day up in Asheville at a very cool Japanese spa. So, you know, we've done cooking classes, we've done tubing, we did wine tastings, just an event that's team building at the same time, but that they're interested in doing. My third quarter is very important to my staff because 2 years ago I instituted the money quarter. So their third quarter numbers, if they hit their goals for that, they're going to get a percentage of our third quarter profits. And I take that and split it up amongst based on how long they've been here and their contributions to that. And I give that out. I pay them in a completely separate paycheck with minimal taxes. I only take out FICA, and they get that on Black Friday. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a Christmas bonus that they're contributing to. Right.
I like how you almost have like all your different quarters are kind of themed.
Yes.
You know, like their different rewards are themed, and you can kind of gamify that and brand it. That's really cool. So Q3 is like everyone's ramping up for the money quarter. That's awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know, part of that is because for us in the summertime, like when the kids are out of school, our business is usually a little bit slower. And so to motivate the staff to avoid that, you know, and get us through that little July hump, July hump, and then half of August, it's their money quarter. So they want to hustle, get on the reactivation calls and the Google reviews and all the things that we do.
Yep. That's awesome. And this is, I think, another valid follow-up question too is, what do you do with the ones that aren't money motivated? I think obviously you're trying to attract the ones that want to hustle and want to serve patients and make a lot of money and do well. But there are people out there that just aren't driven by money. They're driven by other intangibles. What has been your best practice with staff like that and getting them engaged, you know, in that?
I think sitting down with each staff member, say, you know, quarterly or at least twice a year, and finding out what their goals are. So, you know, personal, professional, financial goals are for, you know, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, is how you get to know what motivates people. Because I do have some staff, especially, you know, my staff that has children, that value time off more than money. So they like that extra day at the 4th of July, or they like those extra days over the holidays. And really, I think that's been, other than the money, it's time off, paid time off. And another thing that I did was have people kind of write down what would make them feel appreciated in one of my staff meetings. And I gave them some examples and had them turn those in, and they were anonymous. So, but that would just give me an idea of other, you know, quarterly campaigns that I can do.
What did you find, again, and not calling anybody specifically, just some basic feedback on that, like non-time off, non-money, but other intangible ways that to recognize or acknowledge your staff where they felt appreciated? Do you recall what some of the bullet points were that were like, maybe might seem a little more airy-fairy to some managers, but go a long way?
Yeah, they like being recognized, you know, in front of the group. So I think like having a star, like almost like an employee of the week or employee of the month, that kind of stuff. I like just calling somebody out during the week that I feel like has gone above and beyond for their action that week. And you know, that kind of recognition in front of everybody warms their soul and keeps them going.
Yep, 100%. Quick little bumper sticker for everybody here, all the aspiring leaders and current executives. You want to make sure to take your time to recognize your team in public. And if you have to have a reprimand or a corrective kind of conversation, do that in private.
Yes.
Super important. There's nothing more embarrassing as an employee to have a manager, you know, maybe have a short fuse or correct a situation, even if it's done proactively in front of the group. It's just never productive that way. But if you do it in private, it's much better. But then, man, public recognition in front of the team for going above and beyond, or a job well done, or hitting a goal goes a long way in the other direction too.
Mm-hmm.
That's key. Okay, I want to switch. Oh, go ahead. Yep.
Well, just posting it for patients as well. You know, we have I have very lively staff, and so they're always interacting with the patients and make friends with the patients. So even like having, you know, some sort of recognition thing put up on social media or hung in the clinic so that the patients see it as well, that means a lot.
That's great. I love it. Let me go to another question. We kind of had some bullet points here. What have been your best practice with dealing with more toxic staff or lower tone staff that are not meant for your team or do not fit the culture of Carolina Spine. Like they're just not, it's doing this, right? Either passively doing this or actively it's pushing back, but it's obviously causing some kind of disruption and it's causing an attitude problem within the team. How do you deal with that? I mean, what's your best practice on how do you approach that and work with that?
I've had probably at least 4, if not 6, that were really shocking that I had to deal with. But basically, in the beginning, when we hire, we start with a 90-day trial period, and during that time, it's explained to the employee that we will let you go. We'll terminate at any point. For we don't even have to give you a reason, honestly. But if it's attendance or they're just not getting it or they're not fast enough, or again, if we think they're toxic, we're going to go ahead and cut the head of that snake off immediately, because in South Carolina, someone has to have been employed with you. It's like 4.5 months before they're entitled to unemployment. So that 90 days, we definitely want to make a decision within that time to get rid of them so that we don't have to deal with any sort of unemployment issues. And we've done that. So that's for new employees. Now, when you have employees that have been here for a while, that's a whole different beast. And so, first of all, if this employee's, I've had one employee that was just stellar for 3 years, like, second in command and fantastic. And then all of a sudden she's being late every day and she's calling out and she just has an attitude and she looks terrible. And so, with those kind of employees that had a great foundation, but then something has slipped, like I'm going to bring them in and ask them how they're doing. What's going on? Because typically when you see something like that, there's something that's happened in their personal life or, something that's going on that they're not okay. And I had that situation with her, and it turned out she was dealing with, like a miscarriage. Well, we didn't know about that. So I took some steps with her and helped get some counseling for her and such. And it took us probably about 4 or 5 months to get through that, but we did. So that one was successful. Now I've had some others where when you find out that they're gossiping a lot, if they are, ganging up with another employee against other employees, and they become toxic and you don't do anything about it, you're going to lose your good people. So with those specific ones, I started documenting, so every little thing that they did that was an insubordination, et cetera, and you're out on the 3rd strike. So we'll do a verbal, then we'll do a written. We have an employee manual in place and policies that everyone signs, within their first 3 days of employment. So for one case, I had one, she was in a marketing position and she wasn't getting her numbers or making the money she wanted to make. So she went and teamed up with another one of my longtime employees that was easily influenced, and basically wanted all of the staff to come to me because they weren't making enough money. So the rest of my staff was like, I don't want any part of that, because they are very happy with what they're doing. So that one I had to fire 2 people at one time, but that's in our handbook. It was direct insubordination. So
yeah, I mean, at some points you have to draw the line in the sand. It's a topic we talk about a lot at TBA, which is like, you don't have to have a list of 150 non-negotiables, but you have to have a handful where it's like, you know what, at our practice, we just do not put up with certain behaviors. And it's just a line in the sand. It's nothing emotional about it. It's just, if you cross that line, that's it, and especially if it starts to spread like that, it's not gonna be okay. And the good news is, I mean, as drab as this kind of topic of conversation always tends to be in webinars and sessions and that kind of stuff, it's something that no one wants to talk about or confront. It's not necessarily positive, but when you do that, your higher producers that are really big influencers, like positive influencers in your business, will notice that in a good way, that you are willing to step up and do something about behaviors that are not conducive to the group.
Yeah, I think it makes them feel safe. I've learned that you want to reward good behavior, but you have to punish the bad behavior, because if not, you're not setting any precedences. And that it does get noticed. So if someone's not pulling their weight, and they're down tone, or they're dragging everybody else down, and I don't do anything, A, I'm going to lose respect, but B, they're going to start to slack off too, because they see it's okay.
So it's true. That's a very, very good point. I think it's important for everyone to hear that today. Okay, another one. I want to go over one more bullet point, Dr. Brandy, and then go to some questions from the group here in just a few minutes. But this is good for all the employees. So if you're a front desk, if you're rehab, if you're an office manager, if you are a case manager, if you're not used to being a manager, but you're really good at your job, but you want to be a leader someday, you want to be a manager or an executive someday. Even for the doctors that are on that are used to, putting hands on patients and treating patients, but now you're in a recognized executive role where you're leading a team. What's the mindset difference between either an entrepreneur or a manager, right? Someone who has to execute the strategic vision of the office through a team versus being really good at doing the work itself. It's a bit of a mix of both, but I find a lot of managers are really good at doing everything in the office, and then they end up doing everything in the office.
Right.
And they find themselves wearing 5 hats. Well, they have 6 employees sitting there, but they're doing 400% of the work while everybody else is kind of doing 70% ish. So how did you have to kind of grow from that, kind of being a technician to a manager? And what advice would you give for aspiring managers to be effective executives versus technicians?
I think the biggest step if you want to be leadership is that you have to make the transition from being task minded to institutional minded. So when you're in a leadership or a managerial role, the health of the company has to become your first priority. So it's more of a broad spectrum rather than you just having tunnel vision with your to-do list today. So it becomes a bigger because you're looking at the orchestra and not just the instrument. You want to see how they're harmonizing, who's in sync, who's not in sync. And you have to be able to take yourself out of the task to spend a moment, again, just observing and watching. One of the big things is learning your best practices, realizing what are destructive practices, learning to predict problems or, keep a pulse on the trends so that you can deal with a problem before it becomes a crisis. So, again, you don't want everyone doing that. That's what management is for, because we need people that are just task oriented, but someone has to be watching the orchestra, I guess is that's a perfect
analogy. I mean, again, if you have someone on the cello, their job is they got the music sheet right here and they got to get all the right notes hit at the right time, right? So they're hyper focused on what's in front of them. But again, if you're commanding the entire orchestra, you got to be able to listen to and observe the ups and the downs of every part of every instrument in that area. And that requires, and again, the head of the orchestra, they can't play every instrument. They have to count on their band, their team to do that. That's huge. What would you say is one of your better practices on effectively delegating, or how do you get hats off your plate? So in order to run multiple practices, you can't be doing a lot of things phase one, doing the work. You have to be good at getting other people to do it effectively, to hire, train, find the right people, onboard them into the role that you need to either move off yourself or one of your team members for your practice to grow, whether you're there or not. What have you found to work well? Is it having everything documented, like you said? Is it investing time in training? Is it more focused on having the right person, doing it? What or a combination of all the above? What would you say if you had to put your finger on a simple explanation that's always worked for you?
Well, I think one thing that really helped me, because I'm a control freak, so that was really hard for me to let go. And I've built some really special relationships with physicians and hospital systems, et cetera. And so we have a very high standard of care. So for me to bring on another doctor and trust that they're going to do things the way that I did them was really hard. But at one of the 7th divisions, I think it was Rob told me, for associates, if you get someone that's 80% as good as you're great. It's going to be great. And so that took a lot of pressure off. And I think that's in every position, because again, if you've been doing your position, if you're, a front desk supervisor, a case manager, you've been doing this for 3 years. Obviously, a new person's not going to come in and have your finesse right away. But if you can find someone that you think has the right characteristics, a positive attitude, willingness to learn, commitment to excellence, then it's a lot easier. So that 80% thing eased my mind. And then from there, it was getting scripts, and algorithms. So even for treatment in our clinic, I have protocols. So I literally created a chart of, we do these lines on the x-rays. If it's this, then this. If it's this, then this. If it's this, then this. If it's this, it's not this, and so my whole staff is very trained on that. That's involved in, implementing treatment protocols. And so they know what to do. And it's not guessing work. It's laid out. You have a roadmap. So I took that out of there because I don't trust another doctor just to come in and do whatever they want with the brand that I've built. So I think, branding involves creating standards of SOPs, standards and procedures and protocols, having those written up, and then training, a sufficient amount of time. I know for me, and it may be overkill because I've heard other doctors say no, but for my associate doctors, they work every day with me for 2 months. And then I started letting them take new patients at 6 weeks, but every day, all day with me. And then, same with managers, and when you're training a new employee, spending that, we have checklists. So again, we have their job descriptions and what their duties are, and we have a training checklist. So once they have been trained on it and been tested on it, they sign it and their supervisor signs it. That way we can also go back, 3 months from now when they're like, oh, nobody ever trained me on that. Yes, we did. Here it is. You signed off on it. I think that's important too. So I think it's having everything, organized, getting the right person that you think is 80% of yourself, organized, written out. I make everything repetitive, and I think that makes it easier. And I think that makes my staff much better at it. Everything we do is repetitive. I have put a system to every single process that we do. So, that way they don't make mistakes, because when you continue to do the same thing over and over and over, it becomes second nature. It's also easy to check and troubleshoot. So I would say that too, systematize your office, everything you do.
Makes total sense. That's great. Repetitive and redundant. I love that. Let me go to Jennifer for our first set of questions here. Jennifer, you can feel free to unmute your microphone. This has been a really, I think, very insightful conversation so far, based on where you guys are at in practice. I'll give you the floor. Any questions or things you're running into right now in building a team?
I've just been kind of taking everything in. I don't have like a very specific question right now. So if I'll let you get to some other people so that if they have a question, they have time to get it in.
Good. Okay, perfect. I do have a question for Dr. Brandy, and maybe I'm asked, maybe this comes to mind for you guys, unless you've already solved the problem.
Okay.
I think it answers another question for others too. Associate doctors right now, Dr. Brandy, I know you're opening up a third location. Have you found right now, finding good docs right now to hire is scarce? Any best practices on what you look for in a good associate?
Honestly, I prefer athletes. I was an athlete myself, and I just found that, especially like I have a D1 college soccer player in my Spartanburg clinic right now. And when someone was an athlete, they're competitive, right? So those kind of doctors are going to want the base plus commissions, essentially kind of payment plan, and they're not afraid to work. So, I mean, I don't know if that's superficial, but I like to hire athletes. Otherwise, somebody that was super involved in school before, like somebody that had a lot of extracurriculars, somebody that, again, myself, I TA'd anatomy. I was a tour guide. I was a tutor. I was president of this. I want those same kind of people that have that kind of drive and that kind of competitive attitude, because I would take the base plus commission so that I actually get rewarded for how much I'm working all day, every day. But when you have people that aren't motivated that aren't self-motivators, they're going to want just a big fat salary and don't care how many people they see that day or don't see that day. And that doesn't work in my team. I'm not hiring that.
So you're looking very specifically for these kind of people, even in the market today. I mean, you take the time to find the right person. That's good.
Oh, yeah, because go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna had a quick question. Do you ever, for any of your associates that you bring on, give them an opportunity to buy into your practice or become part owner of your practices, or do they just stay as an associate with like a base and bonus program?
Right now, I'm at the base and bonus, but I am toying with that at 5 years. Basically letting them like earn a percentage of the buyout. And then, but if they leave, then they lose that. So, but with that percentage of the buyout, just for me, I don't want to deal with the tax hassles, with hassles of taking on a partner, but we can have it in contract. So for every year. And then at that point, when I'm ready to sell, they've built, 10, 15, 20% equity off of that price. I'm toying with that right now for my ones that have gotten to 5 years.
Okay.
Excellent question. Thanks, Jennifer. That's great. Dr. Gary, fellow 7th Division comrade in arms here. We got Dr. Brandy here. So I don't know if Maria is there as well, if she wants to jump in with a question for Dr. Brandy or not, but I'll let you unmute your microphone there and jump in with your question here.
Yeah, my daughter Maria really wanted to be in on this because we've given her 5% ownership equity in the company. We haven't made it into profit sharing yet, but that's as long as she stays. Also, our other doctor is also a 5% owner of equity, so that if I do sell, he'll get a nice big check. My daughter now is toying with the idea of going to acupuncture school, and we talked about, if she were to do that, wouldn't it be great if she didn't have to take out a loan for the $25,000 a year if she was able to work part-time here and go to acupuncture school. I think the main thing is I don't want to ever create a feeling of insecurity that the doctor who's been building a practice in my clinic, that if I sold, that I always want to give them a right of first refusal to purchase if I do sell. But maybe I won't sell, but moving into a phase 2 and seeing how well, Brandy, your ship is running is something that I'm investing in, to get all these hats written up and all the SOPs. And even I've finished my physical medicine assistant training protocols with a test at the end. They'll get a certificate of our brand. You're a physical medicine assistant who renders therapies from Health and Balance. Same thing with our massage therapists and our doctors. We're building a whole training program for the doctor. I love what you said about having them follow you for 2 months. And then what I'm going to have this new one do that we're hiring is I'm going to have her document and write up the SOPs as she's doing it. So I'm just going to tell her, turn on your voice recorder for this process, then switch it over to Temi, then put it into Chat GTP and use the prompts so that you've got a hat write-up basically done. I thought that was incredible what you did on that last time, Ethan. So I think it's really just a call to get more organized and have everything written out. I don't think I have a question. I was just more inspired to finish the jobs.
Beautiful. Excellent. Thank you for all that feedback. That's great. I know you're working diligently to get that done.
Yeah.
Let's go to Olivia and Michelle. Okay. You got a rock star female leader here in front of you guys, and I assume you guys are aspiring leaders in your career. Michelle and Olivia, what leadership questions do you have for Dr. Brandy today?
Scan the camera. Can't see you. I know. But you have questions? I don't have any questions. We took notes a lot on like what we can do for employees that we're hiring, and then just how to be more connected to them. So like one thing we took down was talking to them about their goals, professional and personal, every 6 months.
Yeah.
Especially because we just hired a couple of new girls, so they're coming up. One of them is coming up on her 90 days. So going over it then, and then going over it again in about 6 months. So that was helpful.
Awesome. Beautiful. I have another quick hiring question then too. What is another not so common question or thing you do in your hiring process, Dr. Brandy, that helps to attract the right kind of person? Speaking of best practices on interviewing or just hiring in general.
Well, first of all, I instituted a reward basically for my employees if they find our next employee. So if they find that person, they make it to 90 days, they get $250. And then my person in the office that trained that person gets 500 if they make their 90 days. So everyone's invested in that person becoming part of the team. But I do a 3-part interview. So the first interview, they're going to come in, I'll take their resume, I have them fill out an application as well. And we just kind of talk about, again, what they know about their experience, what their goals are, et cetera, in that one. And then from that, I'm basically going to ask personality questions. I sit down and I say, tell me about you. And they kind of were like, what does that mean? I'm like, tell me about you, because I want to know about their life, about their hobbies, what gets them going. And then once we do that, I'll go through, what do you know about chiropractic? And then I explain it to them if they don't know anything about it. And if I think that they are going to be a good fit, I'll give them a clinic tour, and then I'm going to have them do the test. TBA has the test. So we do the IQ test and the PPA test on everyone that we think is worthy of making it to a second interview. So they do that in the office, and then I'll send their test results in. And then when I get their test results back, if those are favorable, then I'm going to have them back for a second interview, which is a working interview. So they're going to come back and work for 2 hours with my staff in the position that they are interviewing for. And that's really to look at, personality complex. I know you can't tell everything in 2 hours, but you can feel a lot about somebody's energy in 2 hours. Whether, they're going to be eager. We'll have somebody step in and translate. If they're too scared to translate, then either their Spanish isn't good, or, they're just not going to be confident. So we give them some little tests like that, seeing if they can repeat things accurately, repeat tasks. And then after that, we will make our decision of if we're going to hire, and based on that 90-day temporary period.
That's great. Awesome. Perfect. I have one final question, a burning question I want to ask. But before that, I want to get to the other questions before we wrap up the final question here. Let me go to Dr. Hupper. Any questions or obstacles you're running into you want to pick Dr. Chapman's brain about here?
No, this has been great information.
Awesome. Perfect. Dr. McKenzie, how about yourself? Okay. Almost there. Looking for the mute button.
No, all good. Thank you.
All good.
When the new associate is with you, Dr. Brandy, for 2 months, are they on salary? How do you compensate? Do you compensate them, or what do you do?
Yes, they're on salary. So I have 2 different salaried structures that I'm doing, because one clinic is more personal injury than the other. So my personal injury clinic, that doctor he started on a $57,000 bonus. I'm sorry, hold on. It was a $57,000 base. And then he started with 5%. Like, I create a BAM, like in TBA, one of the doctors called it bare ass minimum, and that stuck with me. So that's our monthly operating costs, right? So we have a BAM number of what our overhead is each month. And so he gets a percentage of collections over that amount. Now, that did not start until he was trained, and fully had taken over. So in the beginning, he was just getting his base. Now, my other doctor in my Spartanburg clinic, she has a little bit of a lower base, but her bonus is based on patient visits. So basically at 150 PVs, then she's going to make $2 retro per adjustment. But I want that clinic at over 200. So I made it a big jump. And that was at Dr. Gary's advice. So if they hit 200 PVs, then she's going to get $4 retro. So she gets paid every 2 weeks. So her base salary right now is like 60,000 plus these bonus structures. So if she's seeing at least 150 a week, she's making 75. If she is seeing 200 a week, she's making 96. And then anything over that's gravy. So right now she's set to make about 110 if she keeps where she's at right now. And then Dr. Mike, he gets the base salary. His base salary, because he's been with me now for 6 years, over 5 years. His base salary is now 75. I think it's 75. And then at 5 years, we switched him over. So he gets 10% of the first 10,000 in profit, 15% of the second 10,000, 20% of the third 10,000, 25% of the fourth 10,000. So he actually
So-
had last year that 25% twice.
So they see your financial statement. So obviously, if they're getting part of the net profit, do they see your financial statements and everything?
No, but they have access to the report. So if they want to check the monthly report for ChiroTouch, they can see how much collections were.
Okay.
Really none of their business what I do with the rest of the money.
No. Okay,
But
thank you.
You can check the
Awesome.
reports, and I encourage them to.
But you set the BAM though, I think is also the main point. The BAM is set by you, and then they know that's the BAM, and this is everything above that, is they're going to portion of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, I got you.
Beautiful. Okay, final question here. And before I go into the final question, just a reminder, everybody, we do have a communication and closing seminar happening August 3rd and 4th, just around the corner. And then 7th Division and our TBA workshop is happening here in Clearwater, Florida next month, the 25th and 26th. I know we'll see Dr. McKenzie out there as well as a guest for 7th Division, Dr. Arthur, Dr. Schock, and many others that are on this session as well. Just a reminder, also our workshop that's happening, the agenda is online. Cindy will put the link there in the chat box. And you can attend in person for our non-7th Division workshop, staff and doctors. And it's also live streamed on Zoom. So make sure you guys tune in for that as part of your program. Okay, final question here, Dr. Brandy, you wrap up. Okay, there's a lot of female chiropractors, managers, practice owners on today's call, or might watch this in some future day. So it might even also apply to the male practice owners too. But I know you're kind of you're like a woman power, rock star entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur. I know there's not a lot of that in chiropractic for whatever reason. It just is what it is, right? You stand out above as a female entrepreneur and chiropractor. What is one tip you have for the women watching? And men can take note too if we want, but for, how do you stand out as a leader, as a woman in today's marketplace to really achieve your goals and help others achieve theirs as well?
I think it's confidence. And I had to fake it till I made it. The first time I presented for an emergency room department meeting, I was shaking on the inside. I was 28, 29 years old, and just had this crazy idea. And then when it happened, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. And I'm presenting to 40 ER doctors. But I had to fake it till I made it, so it's coming in the room. It's carrying yourself well, looking nice every day. We perform better when we look nice. It's being confident, and it's really not taking, I'm just don't take any shit, I've been, especially like back in the 2000s, and around 2010, like I've endured an incredible amount of sexual harassment, which back then I was nervous about it because, I didn't know. I'm a new doctor, and these attorneys threaten that they're not going to do business anymore with us if I don't go out with them or do this. Now I would tell them to shove it. But at that time I didn't. I was scared. I didn't know how to handle that. And so, it's going to be okay. Like, no one can threaten you in your position and who you are and your path to success. Like, nobody has the right to take that away from you. No one has that kind of power over you, and know that, so I do take it upon myself. I found that my goal, or I guess my purpose in life, is that I'm a collector of lost girls. I have a lot of girls that came here with no family, or, have been victims of abuse on multiple levels. And I'm teaching them, and, teaching them to be independent and take care of themselves and depend on themselves and make better decisions. And, I just think as a woman, you have to be, you have to know your worth, value yourself, treat yourself with respect and kindness, and expect that of other people as well. I've been in a completely male world over here. And guys, don't get me, I'm a guy's girl. I'm a golfer. I like to go out. So, I love that world, but a lot of women aren't built for that. And so it's about like toughening up and thickening your skin and, you know, and being able to hold your own when sometimes you're the only female in 100 guys, you know, or dealing with those patients and not letting anybody make you feel less than.
Great advice. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that from the heart, Dr. Brandy. We appreciate
No,
you.
I know I'm tearing up, Ethan. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. An hour flew by just like that. I took notes. I'm sure everyone else did. Looking forward to seeing you again, Dr. Brandy, at our next 7th Division session. And I know I speak on everyone here saying thank you for your time and your insight and inspiration. Congratulations on all your success and continued success. And here's to practice number 3 and to the rest of a great year.
Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. Awesome, guys. With that being said, thanks for attending another virtual mentorship session. We'll have the agenda and speakers for next month's sessions coming up very soon. Otherwise, register for the August event coming up 24th and 25th, 7th Division and workshop, live stream and in person. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Everyone have the webcams on. Love seeing your shining faces. Hope you guys benefited from today. Until next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.